folks, Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Coming with a blog post we want to share, of course, review the latest in social media and technology, and all the major phone companies send us phones to review. So be sure to tune into our ChrisVossShow.com channel for our daily email, and also our YouTube channel so that you can get all the latest and greatest reviews and comparisons that we've done. Now, this is from Verizon Wireless. That's VerizonWireless.com. You can go to their website, tell them Chris Voss sent you. This is the newest, latest, and greatest, the Motorola Droid Razr Maxx HD. This is an awesome killer device that has up to 32 hours of normal use and 13 hours of straight video playback. I mean, isn't that amazing? It says here enough to be able to watch a movie trilogy without needing a charge. So that's pretty freaking awesome that they've got up on here. It's global ready. It's got business ready support too. NFC enabled. We'll get into some of the other details of the device here and in and of itself. And let's take a look at Droid. Of course, it's got the really cool Droid sort of setup and startup and everything else and all that good stuff. So let's take a look at some of the specs of the device first. It's definitely an impressive, well-built phone when you first get it into your hands. This is, of course, running on the Android OS, the 4.04 is what's on it. I would imagine that being as powerful and cool and late as it is, that they would hopefully move it to Jelly Bean. You'll have to Google it to see where that's at. The dimensions are 5.19 in height, 2.67 in width, and a 0.37 thickness. So it is pretty thin and competitive with most phones that are out there these days. The weight is 157 grams. It does feel a little heavy, but it feels like a solid phone. It doesn't really feel like a heavy phone. It just doesn't feel like a cheap, plasticky crap phone. It feels good, solid, rock solid. Yep. So let's see. It also says it's waterproof. So that's what I'm reading here. And the waterproof means it's splash proof. So you can't probably soak it for a long point in time, but it'll survive a splash, I guess. The physical size is 4.7 inches. The resolution is 720 by 1280 pixels. It does have a great pixel density of 312 ppi with a super AMOLED screen of 16.7 million colors. Capacitive multi-touch screen. And talk time, let's see, I've got stats I have here, 21 hours for talk time. Standby is 15.5 days. And capacity on this battery is outrageous. 3,300 milliamp hour battery. That is crazy. To give you an idea, most phones that are out there in the marketplace only have like maybe 1,500, maybe 1,800. If you can get one close to 2,000, that's a good deal. This is 3,300 milliamp hours, which means it's going to last you for a while. It's got inside the chip is a Qualcomm Snapdragon S4. It's got a dual-core processor, 1.5 gigahertz Krauts, and it's got 1,024 megabytes of RAM, 26 gigabytes of storage, and it also has storage expansion, which is a micro SD card up to 32 gigabytes. The camera is a great camera on it. It's 8 megapixels, and it, of course, will do 1080p HD video. And the front-facing camera is 1.3 megapixels. Now, we reviewed some of the Droid products before. We've always been very impressed. Motorola builds a rock-solid phone when it comes down to it. They're definitely not cheap or plasticky in any way, shape, or form. We definitely were excited to play with this one because, of course, 3,300 milliamps. Across the top of the device, we have, of course, a small speaker area underneath the logo there for making calls. We have the front-facing camera. You, of course, have your back button, your home button, and your recent apps button and a capacitive touchscreen. And then also on the front and the bottom, as far as we can tell, there in the middle, right about here, there's a microphone hole. So that's what we're getting, or our impression is from there. It's got this beautiful kind of bulletproof looking back to it. I'm not sure if it's the official bulletproof back, but it definitely is. It has that sort of, forget what the word I'm looking for that they use in the military, but it definitely has this beautiful back to it. You see this on a lot of the different Droid Motorola products. So you've got your, it looks like a small microphone hole here, and we get your flash lamp. You've got your HD video camera eye. Of course, you got your speaker here. It's got a great speaker on it and everything else. Let's take a look around the sides. Around the sides, we have a place for you to put your SIM card. We also have a micro USB sync and charge port there. And then we also have an HDMI output plug. So this is really great if you get the cable where you have a micro HDMI output to an HDMI output. You can plug this thing into your TV. Across the top, nothing much to see here, just the screws that hold it together. It's got a strong kind of steel frame to it that work really good. You've got a rocker volume up and down here on the right hand side, and then your power button here. It also has some good gripping things. The device really feels like a metal, strong piece of hardware. And all that good stuff. So you can see here on the bottom, nothing to see here. Top, we have the earphone jack for that. And that's pretty much it. It's a beautiful, beautiful, good-looking device. You can see here, of course, one of the great things that you have with the Android product is the widgets feature, where you can add different widgets and stuff. You can make different screens. You can add different pages. Now, this appears to have a finite scrolling system. One thing about the Droid is instead of having multiple screens, you swipe back and forth. If you swipe from your left to your right, you will come up on the quick settings. Now, normally most Android products will put them up here at the top. With Motorola, what they do is they put them off to the left. So you can go into that any time if you want to do quick setting adjustments to your device. And of course, you can do live wallpaper. You can do all the wonderful things that you can do with most of these. You can even see the widget section that you have here. We've always been really impressed, especially with the live wallpaper on the Droids. It really is fun for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's that whole Droid element. So, let's take a look at these settings. So I think you got to look at the notifications menu. It's okay if you prefer, whether you prefer the way Motorola has it set up where you swipe to the left to get it. I actually like to swipe down to get to my notifications, but you know, everyone's got a different way of doing it. You can see here their settings menu, how it works, what they've got in here for different adjustments that you can take and do. Pretty much standard operating procedure for your Motorola product. Okay, so we did some speed tests here with the Droid, and it looks like you can see we came in the high 6s and high 7s, mid 7s, if you will. Same thing with the 4s with the upload. So it processes data pretty quickly and easily. Okay, so here we've used the hotspot on the mobile hotspot with Verizon, and we put this through an iPad 3 to see how well it can perform as a hotspot. It performed very well. We got great data results out of it, pretty much similar to what the device gets itself. You can see here the results on the left-hand side of using the Motorola Droid as a hotspot. Okay, so here you can see the Geekbench 2 score, and it comes in really well. 1,554 is the score that we got. That seemed to be about a good average. The integer score was 1,026, 2371 floating point score, memory score 1,530, 599 for the stream score. We're going to page down through this. You can, of course, pause it at any time. There's been some newest updates to Geekbench 2, so this is the latest scores that we've been seeing coming out at this time. Integer score, you can see floating point. You can, of course, pause at any time if you want. Memory and stream. Okay, so now here using the AnTuTu benchmark version 2.9.4, you can see here we scored 6931, and the RAM integer was 1153, 2264 for the CPU integer, CPU float point, etc., etc. You can pause the video if you want to check out those individual scores. But that's a really good score for an Android phone. Okay, so here you can see it scored number 3 in a list of competitive devices using the benchmarking service. You can see here that the device came in at 10,106, number 3, above the ASUS Transformer Prime, below the Samsung GT 19300. I believe that's the S3. I'm pretty sure it is. So it scored fairly well amongst a lot of top competitors. Okay, so this is our billion counter test. What this does is test how quickly the device can count to 1 billion through its processes. 21.01 seconds. That's super fast. Okay, so here you can see the CF Bench Pro version 1.2. This is a full benchmark that we took and ran on it. So we'll page down through here. You can pause this at any times if you want to see the individual numbers. You can see here it goes down, measures the cores, native MIPS, Java MIPS, all that sort of good stuff, and quickly just writes all that sort of fun things. You can see our overall score came at 9541, which is really good for a phone of this nature. You can see it scored right below the Galaxy S3 and 1X of the databases and libraries that are kept with CF Bench. Okay, so here you can see the results we got with the GL benchmark 2.5.1. On the 2.5 Egypt HD, we got 105 frames at 22 frames per second, which is good, and the off-screen 1514 frames at 13 frames per second. Using the KFS benchmark app, we came in, you can see some of the frames per second, but overall we came in on average 25.87 frames per second. And this, of course, is measuring the OpenGL 2.0 performance. Okay, so here we have the Passmark Performance Test Mobile. You can see here on a system test we scored 2168 with the device, and of course you can pause this at any time as I page down. CPU test 5327, that's pretty good. Disk test 2814, 2388 for our memory tests. 2D graphic test 2198, and 3D graphic test 744. Great scores. Okay, so here you can see we're using the quadrant standard test. The device scored really well with this benchmark. It came in 5,056 above the HTC One X and the Asus Transformer Prime in these tests. So great test with the thing. You can see some of the CPU memory tests. It's a great phone. Okay, so here's the Velamo test that we ran on the Verizon network. The HTML5 test came in at 1712, 614 for the metal. This runs a numerous bunch of tests for HTML5, Java, and stuff like that. A bunch of different benchmarking websites all combined into one. So pretty good score for the device. Okay, so using the browsermark.rightware.com website, we've done a benchmarking test using the Verizon network. Score came in at 2,033. Now, in this case, with most of our phone reviews that we'll do, we'll use the browser that comes with it, just a standard browser. In this case, Motorola doesn't provide one, so we use the Chrome browser to take and do this test. It says here your browser was superior to 74% of all phone browsers, so how about them apples? Okay, so now we have the SunSpider 0.9.1 JavaScript benchmark results. This, of course, measures JavaScripting and performance of the browser. The lowest score is what we're looking for, the better here. And as you can see, we scored 19.9 milliseconds in going through all the different benchmarking that it took and did. Okay, so using the AnTuTu 3D rating for benchmark, you can see here that we scored 2891. Okay, this is the RL Benchmark SQL Lite Performance Test. This basically does a number of tests to test the operations of the device, inserts, string comparisons, creating indexes, database, world drop table, I should say, not database. Overall, it came in at 26.088 seconds, which is really good too. Okay, so here we're using the AND-E Bench app, and you can see here this takes and scores native and Java threads and how well the device can process them. 5819, which is a good score for the native threads, and Java threads 202. Okay, so here using the display tester, you can see how well this looks. It's got beautiful colors all the way around, especially in the red. This is probably the strongest red I've seen on any mobile phone. That's probably why we're seeing so much red showing up in the camera shots. So it's got a really strong red, yellows, greens, blues. The magenta is almost a little washed out by the red from what we can see here. So pretty interesting that way. It takes great photos, and when you look at the photo stuff, the reds do come out in a strong red environment, which is something you just want to be aware of when you're shooting. If you're in a red environment, that you're going to have to try and offset that either through exposure or some other different methods or lighting. Yeah, it's got really strong red to it, which is pretty interesting. But it's a great camera. I really enjoy it. It's got a great screen. Okay, so here we're doing a Skype call. This is across through localized Wi-Fi. You can see here that it does a great job with the front-facing camera of being able to see me and broadcast me, etc., etc. Okay, so let's take a look at the camera on the device. it's got an impressive camera to it. It definitely is a great camera. I'm very impressed. On the Motorola, let's take a look. You've got, of course, zoom over here where you can zoom in and out. You can also set up to where you can use the volume button for zoom. In settings, you got some interesting settings here. You've got your widescreen for 8 megapixel. You can also click this and it will go to 6 megapixels to match the screen. Kind of interesting. You can see here you can also use the volume key function as zoom. You can geotag. You can pick your storage location and shutter tone if you want a shutter tone to be able to take and do. I thought it was kind of interesting. It actually defaulted this 6 megapixel setup, and of course you can see it's the same for the 8 here. Of course, these are most of the things you get with most Android products. You've got pre-made effects you can take and put into play. You've got scenes you can take and do. The modes you can take and do. One thing that was kind of irritating, though, is it kept suggesting HDR mode in some cases, and I couldn't figure out a way to turn that suggestion off, which is really irritating. It's like a box that pops up here. It's probably the one thing I've kind of gone, what is that? The exposure here, of course, you can adjust, and of course you have your lamp exposure depending upon whether you're in shutter mode, camera mode, or video mode. As in this case we are in video mode, so let's go ahead and kill that light. You can see here we have several different functions. Of course, your normal video MMS, slow motion. That's kind of interesting. A lot of phones now are coming with the features of slow or fast motion already built into where you don't need an app, so you've got slow motion mode, which is pretty cool there. You can see here HD video resolution you can adjust. Of course, you got zoom once again with the thing, and on the video resolution you can choose between a number of definitions depending upon what you want to fit your mode. You also have effects, of course, and you also have audio scenes that you can take and do. I guess set up stereo, wind reduction, or concert. I guess wind reduction would be good, and the concert too for that matter. And then of course the thing with the Droid is you can slide that to the side, and you've got that at your beck and call if you ever need it. Of course, you have your ability to switch between your front and back-facing cameras. You've got your shutter buttons here, your active record button. You can, of course, switch between your camera and your video there. Let's take a look. Now, the one part that we weren't excited about with the camera was it has a hard time taking really good pictures and focusing in the flash lamp complete darkness situation. So we took this in complete darkness. If you can't tell, it's actually a closet. Okay, this one was a picture that came out fairly well. We had trouble with some of the other ones that we were taking and doing with them trying to get focus sharply on the image. A lot of the images came out blurry. In video mode, it's got a really great lamp to it. And in the video mode, it's got an awesome lamp, and it picks up very well and just shines the room. Not quite totally excited about how well it focused during the whole time, but it did an okay job. The video lamp we were very much more impressed with. It's got a huge lamp to it, just lights up really well, and you can see the colors pop and come out very well. So the only thing we just really struggled with was the camera taking a picture with the flash. Now, let's take a look at some other pictures. Here, once again, we're trying to take pictures with the flash in the complete darkness. This is shot into the sun, so there's a little bit of darkness to this photo, but it takes great outdoor pictures. Very awesome, beautiful colors, everything else on it. We're very impressed with it. Here you can see that there's the video player that's going on with it is shot in a well-lit situation. It's got a very beautiful video player and very beautiful screens, colors. You can see here us using the zoom. The zoom's awesome to use. Very impressed with it. We really like the camera on the phone. Here's another close-up shot. It takes really good close-up shots, and this was what really surprises about this video. This is a shot where I'm shooting probably an inch off of the wood, and most cameras can't handle getting this close unless you have a macro lens. This lens did really well. I was very surprised. And the Motorola camera is really good. You can tell, though, there's a lot of pickup of reds and greens. You'll see that also here in this photo, where it picks up a lot of reds and greens pretty heavily. very much darker than they really are. Here with the apple and the orange and our marble top in the kitchen, really, oh wow, it comes out heavy even in a well-lit situation. So that was one of the trade-offs. But yeah, it takes awesome close-up shots, great video lamp shots, beautiful shots otherwise in both video and photographs. The only place we saw a struggle, like I said, was shooting in the dark, complete darkness with the flash and being able to get the flash focus sequence down properly. But overall, just awesome camera work. Definitely, I would say this is in my top 3 or 5 cameras that I love to be able to use on a regular basis with the mobile phone, I should say. Okay, so overall, I really like the phone. It's definitely an awesome phone, definitely rocking in its build and how everything does. It's a very solid feeling phone. It's got a rounded back to it, but it's kind of square on the sides and has a bit of a boxy feel, if you can live with that, if that's cool with you. It definitely is a little thicker than some other phones, but it's got a 3,300 milliamp hour battery in it. That's huge. In fact, I'm still trying to figure out where the heck they put it because there's not a lot of room back there, and it's not much bulkier than other phones. So it's a great phone. I highly recommend you take it and check it out. You go to VerizonWireless.com. That's VerizonWireless.com. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. The Motorola Droid Razr Maxx HD. Definitely want to check it out. It's got a beautiful screen, beautiful operation. There wasn't much I could find wrong with it. In fact, I'm not really sure I found anything wrong with it, come to think of it. So be sure to check it out. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. Be sure to check in the Chris Voss Show often. And subscribe to all of our YouTube channels and the website so you can get all the latest and greatest, as all the phone companies send us all the latest and greatest reviews. Thanks for coming by.